community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. Today, we're going to take a look at the Herald, which is the successor to the Paladin in Level Up Advanced 5th Edition, the Kickstarter, and rewritten 5th Edition rules from top to bottom from N World. Full disclosure, I was a consultant and writer for this project. I took part in the exploration pillar, but there are many developers far more brilliant and professional than I am. So please take a look for them as well. But today, we're going to look at the Herald class. All right. Now, let me give you a little preamble here as I read from the article about the changes to what was previously known as the Paladin. So, okay, here's a quick note on terminology. In the context of this article and ones like it, O5E means original 5E, the version of 5E that you'll find in the 5th edition rules. A5E is a shorthand for advanced 5E, which refers to level up. And this is kind of a preamble or warning, just to let you know what the context of this video is about, because I know people want to know about the classes in Level Up and get some details. So we've previously emphasized how the classes in Level Up now give a lot more love to the social and exploration pillars of the game. And while they certainly do, we haven't neglected the combat pillar either. Several of the classes got a more extensive combat pillar overhaul than the others, though, and below we'll be discussing both the changes and what the benefits from those changes will be for your games. Much of this information hasn't gotten a lot of proverbial airtime because it's more in-depth than what can be squeezed into an infographic like the one you're seeing here. But this is also some of the most impressive design work that the team has produced. So get ready for some exciting revelations. It's notable that even this is more of a highlight reel than an exhaustive breakdown, with a dozen updated classes and the new martial class, to say nothing of rebalanced spells, feats, and magic items. And there's much more that's been rebalanced than just what's in this article. Okay, let's get into the article itself. Ooh, it'll pop up. Now, if you can see this, the hopefully you can see this, the graphic of the Herald, and you'll notice as I circle with my my cursor here that if you take a look across, you'll see level, proficiency bonus, features, lessons known, and then smite damage. And below, you've received 1d8 smite damage at 2nd level. It increases to 2d8 at 5th level. If I can page down here. And then at 9th level, it becomes 3d8. And this is just a small, tiny subsection. And if you take a look at the class features, take a look at a small part of the class features, you'll see at 2nd level, it says Divine Smite. At 4th level, it becomes Empowered Smite. And then at 8th level it becomes Greater Empowered Smite. So let's see what the reasoning is. Ooh, I apologize. So, quote, I feel like the Paladin has a lot of potential for utility, but the limited casting and use of spell slots for Smite made it harder to build them in a way that reflected that. Adding cantrips, I felt, added access to a lot of useful utility spells without greatly affecting their casting. My favorite change to Smite, making it a scaling damage bonus like Sneak Attack, was also to restore some of that utility, since it allows you to use your slots for actual spells and not just for creating more martial damage. And this is from Lydia Van Hoy, lead designer of the Herald class. All right. The Paladin class feels really good in O5E. It's like a freight train thanks to its Divine Smite ability, and with its die 10 hit die, heavy armor proficiency, and healing abilities, they can also stand on the front lines of combat, even against big, beefy monsters, and feel confident that they can handle what's coming their way. The flavor was artificially limited, though, with the connection to the historical Knights of Charlemagne constraining the palette for the class to a narrower range of concepts than was necessary. Renaming the class to Herald opens up different types of divine or ideological messengers, such as the new Inquisitor subclass, which feels more like Solomon Kane than Sir Galahad. Much like the Warlock, the O5E Paladin was a favorite class to dip or take just a few levels of. This was primarily for Divine Smite, which allowed players to trade spell slots for bonus damage when they hit with melee attacks. The armor and shield proficiency of the class also represented a significant defensive upgrade over what classes like the Sorcerer, Warlock, and Bard received by default. Trading spells for damage, while fun, also meant that while the Paladin was a spellcaster, they often didn't really feel like one. It was frequently more desirable to use spell slots for bonus damage than to actually cast spells with them. In fact, this was often so tempting that it led many O5E players to seek out ways of getting more spell slots than the default. Multi-class characters with a few levels of Paladin and many more of Sorcerer, Warlock, or Bard were a common way to get extra slots to fuel the Divine Smite ability with and or take some of the limited resource pressure off of Divine Smite so the player could enjoy casting some spells without worrying about not having the fuel for their smites. It's also noteworthy that this was a place where the surveys that we sent out to the community helped the design team. They were able to go into the design process with feedback supporting a version of Divine Smite that wasn't tied to spell slots already in hand. On the licensing side of things, there are a number of first party Smite spells that our development use for intellectual property reasons, but add depth, texture, and tactical versatility to the class. So there was a desire to have something similar for the Herald. The Herald gets around these and other problems with both single-classed and multi-classed characters by making Divine Smite's damage scale up with the character's levels in Herald rather than being dependent on the level of spell slots they have access to, as you can see in the table above. Heralds also get a set level-dependent number of uses of Divine Smite and do not have to spend spell slots to use them. Rather than make a new set of Smite spells, there is now the Empowered Smite feature, which kicks in at 4th level, and it has some of the same functionality, changing the damage type and attaching additional effects. And as an additional incentive to stick with the Herald class, there's also greater Empowered Smite to look forward to at level 8. In keeping with our design philosophy of adding more player choice, each of these class features has multiple options within it, which allows a Herald to adapt their attacks to the foe they are fighting. The Herald still has the ability to trade spell slots in. However, it's just that now they're the power source for the maneuvers the class gets and additional uses of Empowered Smite if desired. That means that whenever you use a spell slot, it will do something more interesting than just adding damage to your attack. Finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention one small change that may have flown under the radar of some folks who looked over the playtest documents. The Herald gets cantrips now. The inclusion of those gives Herald players more options to fully realize their character concepts and brings the class more in line with other types of spellcasters. So, again, the Herald has been changed. Um, there was an attempt to both keep the flavor of of the classic paladin so people recognize the character class while also um, while also allowing the herald to be expressed through other, say, real world analogs of other cultures, and to look at the character class beyond just uh, the classic paladin and Charlemagne and look more towards like Solomon Kane or an African warrior or an Aztec defender of their culture or someone from India with chakrams and such, samurai as well. So it fits many categories as well as real world analogs. And of course, this is fantasy. So you can make up your own, whether you're a woodland defender or um, defending the city walls, or maybe even defending pirate ships or something of that nature, sailing vessels. So I'm rambling a little bit, but this just gives us an insight into the design philosophy and something to look forward to. And again, even this is just a highlight. So guys, thank you very much for just taking a look at this these little insides, little sneak peeks. We will continue to do this well through and well after the Kickstarter, as this channel will start to focus on highlights into level up. So please, down below, you'll see all the links to both where this article, more details, the Kickstarter, and End World itself. So, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Please, if you like this content, and you want to support me and things like it, please take a look at the channel and the huge archive of discussions we've had live streamed. And also like, share, subscribe. This is a call to action. Follow, comment, that kind of thing. Guys, have a great one. As always, peace and prosperity.